Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the 2022 Trooper and TCO of the Year ceremony. It's great to be back here again in person this year. This is a second year, and we got our schedule back in line with how we normally do our annual event. So we'd like to welcome each and every one of you here. It's a great time to honor the men and women of the South Carolina Highway Patrol and this agency for all the great things that have done over the past year. So at this time, I'd like to ask for everyone to stand for the invocation by Captain Mendel Rivers and remain standing for the presentation of the colors by the South Carolina Highway Patrol Honor Guard. Captain.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord God, for this day. We thank you, Lord God, for this occasion, Lord. We thank you, Lord God, for these men and women that are being recognized today for their sacrifice and them going above and beyond their normal duties, Lord God. We ask, Lord God, that you shall continue to bless in every way, Lord God, every family that is here today, Lord. And we ask, Lord God, that you shall bless and protect those that are out on the roadways that's keeping us safe. Thank you, Lord God, for the sacrifices that they have made each day. We thank you, Lord God, for the sacrifices that will be made on the days to come. Bless each and every one that is here. And we ask in your name, Lord God, you continue to keep us and protect us from all harm and fear. For this is the day that the Lord has made, and we rejoice and we are glad in it. So we give your name all the praise. We give your name all the honor. We give you all the glory. It is in your name that we pray and we give thanks. Amen. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held by the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order. Colors reverse. Detail. Sir, request permission to post the colors.
Post the colors.
Ready. Hook. players. And a half step forward.
Thank you. You may take your seat. I want to thank the Highway Patrol Honor Guard for the presentation of the colors, and Mr. Armando Alford from our Victim Services Unit, one of DPS's employees, with Armando singing the national anthem. Beautiful job. Thank you. This time I'd like to bring to the podium the Colonel of the South Carolina Highway Patrol, Colonel Chris Williamson.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Manley. I would complain if he was tall, if he left the mic up, but he's only a few inches taller than me, so it wasn't that high. As he said, it is a great morning and a great day as we get to honor our employees who have done outstanding work. All of our employees do outstanding work each and every day, but this is a day that we take out of the year to recognize those who did outstanding service. Before I start my remarks, just like to recognize some folks. I definitely want to thank Director Woods for being here today, and I'm leading the Department of Public Safety, which the Highway Patrol is a division within. So I want to thank him as the director. I want to recognize the Highway Patrol Executive Command Staff, 2 Lieutenant Colonels and my 4 Majors. 3 of them are here today, with y'all stand and be recognized. Thank you for what you do day in and day out and to help with the operations of the Highway Patrol. I'd like to recognize the troop command staff. Will all troop commanders and unit commanders, would you all please stand and be recognized? Troop and unit commanders. Thank you for what you all do. I'd like to recognize the directors of executive staff. Anybody here, directors, executive staff, please stand. Chief Oliver, our Chief of Staff, and any other the executive division. Thank you all. Truly appreciate what you all do. I'd like to recognize Mark Gosnell, who is the Executive Director of the Troopers Association. He also has some members with him that will make a presentation later in the program, and other members who are here today, Chad Thomas, people who work through the Troopers Association to become partners with DPS and the Highway Patrol to help us with families when they are in need. I'd like for them to stand. Mark, Chad, y'all stand and just be recognized. Doug, Cece, thanks to each of you. As the Lieutenant Colonel alluded to, I want to thank you, Armando, for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome you today as we celebrate our 2022 Trooper of the Year, Telecommunications Operators of the Year, and our special award winners. I would like to extend a special warm welcome to our nominees, their families, and all of our distinguished guests. All family members that are here today, please stand. If you are here with your loved one today and supporting them, please stand and be recognized. All family members, please stand. We truly appreciate you all and the support that you give because your loved one couldn't do this job day in and day out without the support that they get from home and from their loved ones as they leave every day to protect the citizens of this state. We truly appreciate it. The most important staff that we have within DPS or within the Highway Patrol is our support and civilian staff. I'd like to ask all of them to please stand. All of our support, civilian staff, all of our employees, DPS, Highway Patrol, please stand right now to be recognized. Please stand. Everybody. Thank you. Our telecommunications center managers, if you're here today, any center managers, please stand and be recognized for what you do day in and day out, our center managers. Thank y'all for taking that task and managing those centers around the state under the direction of Captain McMurray. All right, thank y'all very much. Today marks a special day in the life of the South Carolina Highway Patrol when we celebrate the accomplishments, heroic acts, and daily dedication to duty from a group of nominees representing all regions of our state, specialized teams, and headquarters. We will also recognize the Medal of Valor and our Purple Heart recipients, men who have displayed tremendous courage, putting their own lives at risk for the sake of others and those who were injured in the performance of their duties. In a few weeks, we will celebrate the 93rd anniversary of the South Carolina Highway Patrol. Later in the month of April, we will hold our fallen trooper service of remembrance, as I see Ms. Rayo sitting here in the audience today, during which we will pause to honor those 51 patrolmen and troopers who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our state. As we head into the 93 years of service, those represented here today are writing the next chapter in our state and our organization's history and continuing a proud legacy of selfless service, integrity, and responsibility. Being a public servant, especially in law enforcement, demands that you have the attitude to serve and not be served, and that you put others' needs ahead of your own. I believe those of you sitting here today recognize and understand the weight of that responsibility. As I look at the stories of those we are about to honor, I am thankful for these troopers who were in the right place at the right time, who meticulously investigated collision scenes to bring justice for our victims, who followed their training and instincts, who kept their composure and stayed cool under pressure to help save a life. And for those telecommunications operators who remained calm and relayed vital information to our troopers during a pursuit, gathered that information from a frantic motorist, or was a common presence on the other end of the line, letting someone in need know that help was on the way. To those being recognized here today, your actions set an example for those around you as others see the way you handle yourself and acted with composure in a time of crisis. It gives them a roadmap and the courage to do the same. While we recognize and reward some of the best troopers here today, we must remember that this is only a handful of tremendous work that is displayed every day by each employee within the Highway Patrol and the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. This is an exciting time to be in law enforcement when you can make a difference in your community and in your state. When technology has transformed patrol cars into mobile offices and specialty teams allow diverse career paths for those who wear this uniform. When a telecommunications operator can guide our troopers to safety and comfort a motorist who is stranded and afraid on the side of the road. One of the concepts that I as Colonel, along with Director Woods, emphasized from day one is teamwork, both within our agency and beyond. We are not just a trooper on the road. We are not just a mate team member or investigator, or we are not just a telecommunications operator. We are all one team working for a safer South Carolina. Only when we all work together can our organization truly thrive. This means not only looking out for the needs of ourselves and our own team, but looking beyond to help challenge and build others. So today, sit back and relax as we celebrate these men and women and their accomplishments along with this great organization. Again, thank you, and thanks to each and every one of your family members for coming out and supporting your loved one today and continue to do that day in and day out. I know you are so proud of them as we are also. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the Director of the South Carolina Department of Public Safety, Director Robert G. Woods. Director Woods has spent more than 34 years in law enforcement here in South Carolina and has led the Department of Public Safety since 2020. We are grateful for his leadership, his dedication to our troopers and officers, and for consistently challenging us to come up with new and more effective ways to keep our state safe while serving with pride and professionalism. Please join me in welcoming Director Robert Woods to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning. First of all, I want to congratulate all the award recipients, all the nominees, and thank you for your service to the Department of Public Safety and to the state of South Carolina. It is greatly appreciated and greatly admired. I do want to apologize, though. I will have to step away after my remarks. I have another event I've got to get to in Greenville, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to come by and share just a few moments with you all today. With that said, every time I come to this event, I'm reminded of that question that every child gets when they're growing up, right? That question is, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? Now, I'm going to share a story as to how I came to that determination as to what I want to be when I grow up. Now, I'm going to tell this story, and I just want to make sure everybody understands. I'm not as good at telling a story as Jonesy Gamble is, but I'm going to give it my best shot, okay? And to begin with, let me set some context. My boyhood was spent in a small town in southeastern Ohio, in the coal mining region of southeastern Ohio. That's where my mother's family was. That's where my mother's family is. We moved here as a teenager with my dad's family, which was down in Eastover. So that's where I've spent certainly through high school and college and so forth. So that's where my roots are. But in growing up, when I was 7 years old, my dad took me and my brother to a Lions Club meeting. It was in the basement of the Church of Christ, just down the street from where we lived. And we walked down there, and when we got there, it was part of the program was a safety presentation by a trooper from the Ohio State Highway Patrol. And I got to tell you, as a 7-year-old boy at the time, this guy was just incredible. He was just awesome to me, right? He was dressed, and back in those days, it was common for those troopers, for the Ohio State Patrol, to still wear a Class A jacket as standard uniform in the wintertime. So he was in a Class A jacket, just like the jackets the Honor Guard's wearing. He had on that Class A jacket, shoulder strap, Sam Brown belt, badge, gun, and man, I was just absolutely just awe-inspired by this guy. You know, for me in my 7-year-old mind, he was sort of a combination of my boyhood heroes, you know, General George Patton, Marshal Matt Dillon, and Officer Pete Malloy. Yes. Okay? Right now, for those of you all are saying, who are those people? Here, let me just say this first. I'll give you some direction. Go to probably Netflix. You will find George C. Scott's movie, Patton. Watch that this weekend. And then go to MeTV, and you'll find no shortage of Adam 12 and Gunsmoke, okay? And I highly recommend all those to you, right? But with that said, these are the guys that when I was a boy, they were the ones that fought the battles, right? They were the ones who got the bad guys. They were the ones who helped the helpless, who righted the wrongs. And it was all those just wrapped up in that trooper standing right there in front of me. And I knew at that time, I said, that's what I want to be when I grow up. Now, I'm going to fast forward about 15 years. I had just graduated from the Citadel. I'd done pretty good academically at the Citadel, and my parents said, you know, we'd like you to continue in academics. You know, I said, well, that might be a good idea. So I applied to graduate school at the University of South Carolina, and I was headed that way. About halfway through the summer, I said, no, that's just not going to be my bag. That's not what I want to do. So I finally worked up the courage to talk with my dad and tell him that. We were sitting out on the porch. My dad smoking a cigar. And I said, Dad, I'm not going to go to graduate school. Now, Mark Gosnell will appreciate this. My dad gave me what I classified as his pre-attack cues. right? He pushed his glasses up on his nose, took a deep breath through his nose, and I said, okay, here it comes. I said, better drop this in first. I said, I want to go into law enforcement. And those glasses went up higher on his nose, and that breath got deeper at that point. And all he said to me was this. He said, well, if that's what you're going to do, you better join the Highway Patrol. And I said, that's all I needed to hear, right? And that's what charted the course. That said, I want you to know that you all are still the ones for me who fight the battles, who get the bad guys, who right the wrongs, who help the helpless. You all are what I want to be when I grow up, and you all will always be what I want to be when I grow up. I couldn't be prouder of your accomplishments. I know your families are very proud of you. Please enjoy this time. God bless each and every one of you, and if there's anything I can do for you, don't ever hesitate to give me a call. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Woods. For our nominees who are being recognized, please come at the completion after we finish reading your narrative. Come up to my right-hand side here. You'll enter and exit the stage from my right, your left. Also, at the conclusion of today's ceremony, the Public Affairs staff will take photos of all recipients, so we ask that all winners remain after the ceremony so that you can have your photos made. The Medal of Valor is awarded to sworn South Carolina Department of Public Safety employees who have distinguished themselves by their acts of bravery and courage while taking great personal risk above and beyond the call of duty. This medal may be awarded for acts that occur while the employee is on or off duty. The Medal of Valor is the highest award awarded by the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. On April the 20th, 2022, at approximately 8 p.m., there was an incident involving a kidnapping that turned into an armed standoff with a suspect and a hostage. The Aiken County Sheriff's Office received a call for help from a female who said that a very disturbed male kidnapped her while under the influence of drugs. The subject was live streaming the entire incident on Facebook. The officers could see that he was armed and threatening to kill the victim and the officers. This event led to an armed standoff in Aiken County. Law enforcement officers from multiple agencies responded to the situation, which included Corporal B.J. Rucker, Lance Corporal E.R. Perez, and Trooper A.L. Derrick. After some time, the suspect fired shots at a law enforcement drone. During this time, the hostage made an escape attempt from her captor. Everyone displayed extraordinary bravery and calm in rescuing this young lady from the line of fire, with numerous officers leaving protective cover and providing cover for her with their very bodies. As this was unfolding, the suspect raised his weapon at officers. The officers engaged the suspect with gunfire, firing numerous shots in the process. This led to the suspect being injured and eventually surrendering to law enforcement. The actions of these officers directly led to the rescue of a female hostage unharmed. The actions and calm control of the scene further led to no other individuals being placed in harm's way and the very dangerous suspect being placed into custody. This incident shows how important it is to have a good, strong relationship with fellow agencies. The outcome of this incident could have been worse without the support and assistance from multiple agencies. The actions of all officers represent the best of the profession of law enforcement and serve as the highest example for officers serving their communities. It is for these reasons that Corporal B.J. Rucker, Lance Corporal E.R. Perez, and Trooper A.L. Derrick are being awarded the agency's Medal of Valor. I'd like to also mention that they were awarded the South Carolina Sheriff's Association Medal of Valor at a previous ceremony. Purple Heart is an award presented to sworn employees who have been injured or wounded in the line of duty. On August the 9th, 2022, at 8:54 p.m., TFC Baker responded to a collision on Pamplico Highway in Florence County involving two motorcyclists striking a car that turned in front of them. Once he arrived on scene, Trooper Baker exited his patrol vehicle and spoke to a Florence City police officer in front of his police vehicle. As he was speaking with the officer, a black Nissan Versa drove around emergency vehicles at a high rate of speed into the oncoming lanes of traffic into the existing collision scene. The Nissan Versa struck several pedestrians, including an EMS paramedic, and a gurney carried one of the injured motorcyclists from the original collision. The vehicle then struck a Florence City police officer and Trooper Baker. The paramedic that had been struck was launched into the front of Trooper Baker's patrol vehicle. The paramedic and the patient being tended to by EMS from the original collision died as a result. Trooper Baker was transported by EMS to MUSC Health in Florence for injuries to his head, both arms, a dislocated right shoulder, and a right knee. The driver of the Nissan was charged with 2 counts for reckless homicide. During the entire event, Trooper Baker demonstrated exemplary poise and situational awareness. Both Trooper Baker and the involved Florence City police officer appeared to assist each other in moving out of the way of the suspect vehicle. Had either one of these officers failed to move, they would have most certainly sustained fatal injuries. Trooper Baker has demonstrated an excellent attitude as he recovers from his injuries. As of this date, TFC Baker has not been medically cleared to return to work and will have to undergo additional surgery. He has also been attending physical therapy during his recovery. As a result of injuries he received in the line of duty, TFC J.L. Baker is being awarded a Purple Heart, and he is recovering from a surgery he just had, and he is unable to be here, so Captain Seegers will accept on his behalf.
Say hello to Lieutenant Seegers.
On November the 12th, 2022, at approximately 3:20 p.m., then Lance Corporal Michael D. Bevins responded to assist another unit who was working a collision on US 17A in Dorchester County. The collision involved multiple vehicles, including what was originally reported as a mobile home off its axle. Multiple tow trucks responded to the area to help remove vehicles and open the roadway. A tractor and trailer involved in the collision was disabled and blocking one of the 2 travel lanes. Due to the location and difficulty of getting all vehicles removed, Lance Corporal Bevins was conducting traffic direction from the shoulder to the roadway. A motorist traveling northbound on US 17A at approximately 4:40 p.m. ran off the right side of the roadway and struck Lance Corporal Bevins. Lance Corporal Bevins suffered multiple injuries and was transported via helicopter to Trident Hospital. After months of therapy, Master Trooper Michael Bevins was cleared for light duty. Master Trooper Bevins diligently continues therapy to eventually return to full duty. As a result of the injury received in the line of duty, Master Trooper Michael D. Bevins is being awarded the Purple Heart Award. October 16, 2022, Lance Corporal D.P. Kugler and Trooper B.M. Stoomer were conducting traffic enforcement on SC 183 in Greenville County. Lance Corporal Kugler was serving as a field training officer for Trooper Stoomer during this time. At approximately 2:16 a.m., Lance Corporal Kugler and Trooper Stoomer conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle with a suspected impaired driver. The violator stopped his vehicle in the median at SC 183. After the initial interaction with the driver, they began to conduct standardized field sobriety tests. Trooper Stoomer backed his patrol vehicle away from the suspect vehicle. Trooper Stoomer was in the patrol vehicle while Lance Corporal Kugler and the violator stood near the left front side of the patrol vehicle. During this time, a Chrysler sedan traveling south on SC 183 entered the median and struck Lance Corporal Kugler on his left side. The collision forced Lance Corporal Kugler into the driver's side door of the patrol vehicle as Trooper Stoomer was exiting the vehicle. The patrol vehicle door struck the lower portion of Trooper Stoomer's left leg. After striking the patrol vehicle door, Lance Corporal Kugler was thrown a substantial distance into the roadway behind the patrol vehicle. Following the collision, the Chrysler fled the scene, leaving Lance Corporal Kugler lying unconscious in the roadway. Trooper Stoomer quickly called for assistance on the radio and ran to Lance Corporal Kugler's aid. Lance Corporal Kugler was transported to Greenville Memorial Hospital with serious life-threatening injuries, including the following: a broken tibia, shattered humerus, a broken pelvis, a traumatic brain injury, as well as multiple facial lacerations and contusions. Lance Corporal Kugler spent several days on a ventilator in the intensive care unit. He was then moved to critical care unit floor, where he endured multiple surgeries to his arms and legs, and finally rehabilitation at the Roger C. Peace Hospital. As a testament to his strength and determination, he was released to return home to his family on November 11, 2022. Lance Corporal Kugler has continued to fight with determination during his recovery, with his ultimate goal of returning to the road and wearing his trooper uniform again. Lance Corporal Kugler will forever bear the physical and mental scars of this horrific incident, but his physical and mental sacrifice will not be forgotten. For these reasons, Lance Corporal Devin P. Kugler is being awarded the Purple Heart Award.
We'll take a picture. I want that entire posse that he brought with him to come up here. Let me tell you, I've never seen a wife so strong as Mandy. Hey, she had a baby in one arm talking to us in another one at the hospital, and she was expecting. Mandy, y'all please come up.
I'll keep it brief. I'm not a fantastic public speaker like my wife was blessed with, but I just want to say thank you to my agency and the community and the public. Because of you guys have made my recovery this possible. Even from Captain Brown and Lieutenant Thompson and my troop, they have checked on me just about every single day. And the big thing that has stuck with me the most, I just want to get out, is if trouble does find your way, something I took from training is just to stay in the fight. Don't give up, stay with it. proud of each and every one of you, and proud to be where I'm at and be with this agency. So thank you all.
I know a lot of you sent up prayer for Lance Corporal Kugler, and he is truly a miracle. We will now move into our Telecommunications Operators of the Year. The Blythewood Telecommunications Center would like to nominate TCO Jessica Kinsey for TCO of the Year 2022. TCO Kinsey received a reckless driver call on September the 9th, 2022 at 22:37 hours. The citizen calling this reckless driver in was still in the city of Columbia and advised that the driver of a red Toyota RAV4 had already tried to run into his vehicle several times. The caller also advised the vehicle was all over the road and driving very erratically. The caller was frustrated already by the lack of help he felt he had received before being transferred to the Highway Patrol. TCO Kinsey put out a bolo for the reckless driver over the Richland radio, and Trooper S.A. Jenkins advised she would be en route to the caller. TCO Kinsey advised the caller to keep her updated with his location and any landmarks he was passing. TCO Kinsey was able to calm the caller down once she told him there was a trooper en route to try to catch up with him. She kept the caller on the phone line and continued to give updated locations. TCO Kinsey stayed on the phone with the caller for a total of 21 minutes until Trooper Jenkins was able to catch up and pull the vehicle over. The complainant later called and requested to speak to TCO Kinsey's supervisor. The caller spoke with ATCS John Watts, and he said he wanted to commend TCO Kinsey for the way she handled the call and the amount of time she devoted to keeping him on the line. The caller advised ATCS Watts that he was a major with the United States Army and that TCO Kinsey's professionalism parallels his officers in the Army. He also said TCO Kinsey was his family's hero that night for her efforts in helping them get assistance to get the reckless driver off the road. For TCO Kinsey's professionalism and service to the citizens of South Carolina, the Blythewood TCC nominates TCO Jessica Kinsey for the TCO of the Year 2022. Charleston Telecommunications Center nominee for Telecommunications Officer of the Year 2022 is TCO Anthony J. Rowell. TCO Rowell joined the Charleston TCC in March of 2018. In addition to being a dedicated South Carolina Department of Public Safety employee, TCO Rowell is a military reservist, husband, and father. On October the 13th, 2022, just after midnight, TCO Rowell received a call from a motorist who had hydroplaned off the interstate. The call was transferred with no details provided. The caller was extremely upset, having a panic attack, and scared to be on the side of the road. She advised it was raining too hard for her to get back on the interstate and drive. TCO Rowell was on the phone with the caller for nearly 30 minutes until law enforcement reached her. During this time, he tried to keep her calm by interacting with her and distracting her with conversation. TCO Rowell showed extreme empathy and patience, asking about her school, field of study, her family, and the dog she had with her. TCO Rowell managed to calm the caller down and reassure her that assistance was on the way. For exhibiting dedication, care, and a willingness to go above and beyond to assist the citizens traveling on the roadways in our state, TCO Anthony Rowell is the Charleston TCC nominee for TCO of the Year. Florence Telecommunications Center recognizes Assistant Telecommunications Supervisor Flissa McEachern as the 2022 Telecommunications Operator of the Year. ATCS McEachern began her career as a TCO with the department in June of 2005. On January the 17th, 2021, she was promoted to Assistant Telecommunications Supervisor. Since then, she continues to perform her duties in a professional manner, and she properly documents entries into the CAD system. On November the 25th, 2022, a Troop 5 field unit attempted to initiate a traffic stop in Williamsburg County. The vehicle did not stop and continued at a high rate of speed. It was later determined that the suspect was wanted for a shooting incident in Williamsburg County. ATCS McEachern's CAD notes clearly and completely documented each detail of the pursuit. She kept all Highway Patrol units apprised of the situation as it unfolded, maximizing all available resources to render assistance to the field units. Her duties were performed in a competent and calm manner. ATCS McEachern is attentive and determined when faced with challenges, both professional and personal. She has a thorough knowledge and understanding of her position and applies the skills she has obtained over the years to ensure the safety of all sworn personnel. She willingly accepts challenges as they are presented to her. As a supervisor, she makes certain her team has a clear understanding of their responsibilities and they follow department rules and regulations. She also volunteers to work additional shifts to ensure that the Florence TCC is adequately staffed. ATCS McEachern, please come forward. Telecommunications Operator 4, Andrea Smith, has been with the South Carolina Department of Public Safety since August 1997 and is a valuable employee for this agency. In her 25 years of service, TCO Smith has held many roles and has been a valuable asset to the telecommunications unit. TCO Smith is a knowledgeable employee with the Greenville Telecommunications Center who has volunteered to assist many times while the Greenville TCC has faced staffing issues, working at least one extra shift a week and often more. She has also volunteered to stay late, to fortify staffing, or to assist during inclement weather. TCO Smith is always willing to assist other TCOs in the TCC by pulling phone calls or adding information to calls for other TCOs when they are busy and calling other agencies as needed. She is always willing to answer for any TCOs and provide guidance for new employees. TCO Smith understands the importance of working as a team to accomplish the mission of our agency and shows that in her daily interactions with other TCOs in the Greenville TCC. TCO Smith has a nurturing soul. She takes care of her mother and assists her other family members whenever she can. With the hours TCO Smith puts in, she still finds time to cook, bake, and spend time with her new nephew. TCO Smith is a consistently reliable employee who seldom is out sick or late and is a valuable employee for the Greenville Telecommunications Center. TCO Smith has an admirable work ethic which sets an example for others, and she should be commended for it. TCO Smith is unable to be with us today, so Captain McMurray will accept on her behalf. All right, Colonel.
All right, it's now time to announce the overall TCO Operator of the Year. And with that being, I told him he had to give me the name. Yeah. All right, so all of these TCO operators, they always do an outstanding job. As we alluded to earlier, troopers, they're the lifeline, and they couldn't do the job that they do on the road in protecting our citizens without having this information transformed or transmitted from the TCOs to them. Want to commend all 4 of them, but there can only be one TCO of the year, and the TCO of the year is from the Florence Center, ATCS McEachern. Please come forward. Ms. Lillian Wright, the center manager, please come forward as well. Operator McEachern, we commend you on a job well done as you become our TCO of the year for 2002, represent the Highway Patrol in the Southbound Department of Public Safety. Please display wherever you may like to display at your pleasure. You will wear this pin for the entire year, showing that you are the TCO of the year, and also we will award you a $500 bonus in your next paycheck. She will be pinned now by the center manager. That's right. Y'all move to the left. She says she is nervous. I don't think it would be any worse than some of those calls they may receive. Thank you. Let me take these glasses off and get one more picture. Congratulations. Let's give another round. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Come on, man.
Thank you, Colonel. Congratulations. We'll move on to the troops for the nominations for Trooper of the Year. Starting with Troop 1, be Trooper First Class Devin Burris Johnson. Troop 1 nominates Trooper First Class Devin Burris Johnson for the 2022 Trooper of the Year. Trooper Johnson began his career with the South Carolina Highway Patrol in 2019. As you can see, he prides himself in staying physically fit and wears a Class A uniform with pride. On one occasion while off duty, Trooper First Class Burris Johnson performed life-saving measures and actions to help a victim of a violent crime. On June 6, 2022, he heard several gunshots in his neighborhood and witnessed a vehicle fleeing from the area. Trooper First Class Burris Johnson went outside and found a teenage male with several gunshot wounds lying on the ground. Trooper First Class Burris Johnson called 911 and tied a t-shirt around the victim's leg, attempting to control the bleeding. Trooper First Class Burris Johnson and the victim's brother located the victim and loaded him up in his personal vehicle to attempt to transport him to the local emergency room. Responding deputies with the Richland County Sheriff's Department intercepted them en route to the hospital. Trooper First Class Burris Johnson and the brother put the victim on the ground, and a female corporal from the Richland County Sheriff's Department handed Trooper Johnson a tourniquet. With the help of the corporal, he applied the tourniquet just prior to EMS's arrival. The Sheriff's Department later informed Trooper Johnson that the victim sustained 5 gunshot wounds, with one striking the victim's femoral artery. They gave the victim 5 units of blood at the hospital, and he survived the shooting. Please join me in congratulating Trooper Burris Johnson for the great job.
Troop 1 commanded by Captain Sheriff.
Troop 2 nominee for Trooper of the Year is going to, if I butcher this name, please don't tell me right now. Trooper A.D. Piszczatoski. Trooper Piszczatoski is a 2016 graduate of Wayne Valley High School in Wayne, New Jersey. He was employed as a golf caddy and at the local golf course, and also an inventory stalker at the Home Depot prior to being hired by the South Carolina Highway Patrol in 2021. On January 17, 2022, Trooper Piszczatoski was working on US 25 South in Edgefield County when he observed a Ford F-150 pickup truck speeding 70 in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. Trooper Piszczatoski attempted to stop the vehicle, and he immediately noticed the vehicle swerve erratically as it pulled onto the shoulder. Although Trooper Piszczatoski had only been a trooper for a few months, he had recently been to training, and his instincts alerted him that something here was not going to be normal. Once the vehicle stopped, the passenger door opened, the passenger door of the pickup truck swung open, a female passenger and a male driver fell out of the vehicle on the ground. The driver began screaming hysterically, saying that he was on the way to the hospital. The female passenger, however, appeared to be lifeless. Trooper Piszczatoski asked the driver several times what was going on, but the driver was so agitated and visibly distressed he could not help. Trooper Piszczatoski briefly examined the unresponsive passenger. He determined that she was not breathing and had no pulse. He asked the driver if the passenger had possibly overdosed, and the driver confirmed that she had indeed overdosed. Trooper Piszczatoski instructed the driver to start CPR while he called for an ambulance. Once an ambulance was summoned, Trooper Piszczatoski administered a dose of Narcan to the passenger, but it was ineffective. He continued CPR and administered a second dose while reassuming the frantic driver that she was going to be okay. Within minutes, a second dose of the passenger began breathing on her own, and she regained consciousness. While waiting for the ambulance to arrive, Trooper Piszczatoski took off his jacket and covered the victim. Although the victim was disoriented and was uncomfortable in her place, she started to feel some comfort. He placed his jacket over prior to the ambulance arriving as she continued to recover and gain consciousness. Additionally, Trooper Piszczatoski used his training in DUI detection to determine that the male driver was impaired and placed that driver under arrest for DUI. I knew this crowd would like that. Yeah. Trooper Piszczatoski will quickly credit his formal training from his FTO, which is Corporal Ackerman, who frequently reminded him to remain calm and always expect the unexpected. He also credits his knowledge as an Eagle Scout with his training in helping him stay focused in stressful situations. Please congratulate Trooper Piszczatoski.
Troop 2 under the command of Captain Moore.
Troop 3 nominations can be Corporal C.D. Terry. Corporal C.D. Terry is a dedicated law enforcement professional. He is a motivated, hardworking state trooper who truly makes a difference in the community that he serves. Corporal Terry comes to work each day with a determination to educate, protect, and serve the citizens of Greenville County and the state of South Carolina. He takes pride in leading the troopers on his shift and training new recruits. He also serves as a firearms instructor, SMD instructor, and DRE recognition expert instructor. On numerous occasions throughout the year, Corporal Terry was asked to assist with training fellow DPS employees and law enforcement officers across the Southeast, with his training responsibilities taking him away from his post. In December of 2022, Corporal Terry traveled to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to assist with the drug recognition expert practical application training. Corporal Terry was also called upon to assist in in-service training and was tasked with completing numerous field proficiencies for fellow troopers and other officers. Despite the demands of these extra duties, Corporal Terry was able to efficiently and effectively lead his team, and guide them in a positive direction. Corporal Terry works alongside of his team and is respected by his peers. On April 24, 2022, Corporal Terry responded to a hit-and-run collision in Greenville County. A bicyclist had been struck and seriously injured after being hit by a vehicle that fled the scene. Details of the suspect vehicle were limited, however, based on the debris left at the scene, investigators determined the color of the suspect vehicle. In the days following the collision, Corporal Terry returned to the area of the collision to observe traffic and subsequently located the suspect vehicle as the driver returned to work at a nearby business. As a result, the suspect vehicle was identified and arrest warrants were obtained. If not for Corporal Terry's dedication, this case would likely have remained unsolved. Corporal Terry's training, experience, and dedication to Greenville County and the state of South Carolina should be commended. Corporal Terry embodies the core values of the South Carolina Highway Patrol, as we know, selfless service, integrity, and responsibility. Please come forward, Corporal Terry. Congratulations. Troop 4 nomination for Troop of the Year comes from Troop 4 Post B, Trooper S.M. Durenberger. Trooper First Class S.M. Durenberger started his law enforcement career with the South Carolina Highway Patrol in February of 2018. Since reporting to Post B, TFC Durenberger has been a great asset to the post and Troop 4, consistently going above and beyond to help his peers and his supervisors. TFC Durenberger serves as a field training officer and was one of the first to volunteer to go back through the FTO program once it was revamped to ensure he had the opportunity to be a training officer once again. TFC Durenberger volunteered and attended the mate associate class and has responded to numerous mate call-outs to assist with our region mate team with collision scenes. Since receiving this training and having the opportunity to be a part of a complex collision investigation team, he has brought back the valuable knowledge to assist his team and other investigators in his troop. After Smart Cop rolled out, TFC Durenberger ensured he was well versed with the program. Since then, he has become the post and troop guru for Smart Cop, helping anyone that may have a problem and being helpful in all areas when it comes to computer problems. TFC Durenberger throughout the year has volunteered to work extra shifts and has been flexible with his schedule to help ensure that shifts are covered to keep Post B coverage and keep Post B operational with its coverage. TFC Durenberger is always willing to work in all special assignments and help fill overtime slots when requested by outside agencies. His work ethic speaks volumes for his commitment to the South Carolina Highway Patrol. Please congratulate Trooper Durenberger. Your Troop 5 nomination comes from Post B. As you heard Lieutenant Colonel Albert read on Trooper J.L. Baker earlier, he was struck by a vehicle and is recovering after a surgery. But I'll go through some brief notes on his situation again. On August 9th, 2022, at 10:54 p.m., Trooper J.L. Baker responded to a collision on SC 51 Pamplico Highway in Florence County involving two motorcycles striking a car that turned out in front of them. Once he arrived on scene, Trooper Baker exited his patrol vehicle and was speaking to a Florence County police officer in front of his car. As he was speaking to the officer, the black Nissan Versa drove around emergency vehicles at a high rate of speed into the active collision scene. The Nissan Versa crossed into the oncoming lanes of a four-lane highway which was blocked, striking several pedestrians, including the EMS paramedic and one of the motorcyclists who was originally in the original collision that EMS was working on. The Nissan then struck the Florence City Police officer and Trooper Baker. The EMS paramedic was launched into the front of Trooper Baker's patrol vehicle, and sadly, she died as a result of her injuries. The motorcyclist on the gurney that was being worked on by EMS also expired at the scene. Trooper Baker was transported by EMS to MUSC Health Florence Medical Center for injuries received to his head, both arms, dislocated shoulder, and right knee. The driver of the Nissan Versa once again was charged with 2 counts of reckless homicide. During the entire event, Trooper Baker demonstrated exemplary poise and situational awareness. Both Trooper Baker and the involved Florence City police officer appeared to assist each other in moving out of the way of the suspect vehicle just at the last moment. Had either officers failed to move, they would most certainly have sustained fatal injuries. In addition, Trooper Baker has demonstrated an excellent attitude as he recovers from his injuries. Please join me in congratulating Trooper Baker. Captain Seegers will receive the award on his behalf. Troop of the Year nomination for Troop 6 comes out of Post B, Dorchester, Colleton. Trooper D.R. Brown. After exiting the United States Marine Corps in 2015, Trooper D.R. Brown knew that once again he wanted to protect and serve. This time not in the military and abroad, but here at home among the fellow citizens, and in particular on our roads in South Carolina. With that in mind, Trooper Brown began applying for the South Carolina Highway Patrol as early as 2014 and did so several times before being hired. This all paid off in September of 2022 when he was September of 2020 when he was hired to be a state trooper in South Carolina. Trooper Brown is a family man living peacefully in Dorchester County with his wife and 7-year-old daughter. He is a captain of his own fishing vessel, Nova Ray, and spends a significant portion of his free time on the deep sea. He is an outdoorsman and firearms expert with aspirations of owning land near him sometime in the near future and living in a rural setting. Trooper Brown has defined the meaning and true hard work of excellence. His relationships with the public in Troop 6 are outstanding, and he has received numerous commendations, many times in writing, detailing and praising the job well done. Just as quickly as he can treat the public with kindness, compassion, and empathy, he can also handle the darker side and more dangerous criminal aspect of this job, often making drug and gun arrests in an effort to maintain safety and peacefulness in the society. He has been involved in several seizures of money associated with drug trade. A review of a 2022 enforcement effort showed that he issued in excess of 2,300 cases, 807 warnings, and made 43 DUI arrests in 2022. Please join me in congratulating Trooper Brown. Troop 7 nomination, Troop 7 Post B out of Orangeburg, Trooper First Class M.R. Burgess. Troop 7's nominee for 2022 Trooper Year Trooper First Class M.R. Burgess. Shortly after a high school graduation in Long Island, New York, TFC Burgess attended Sunny Empire State College before taking a job as a warehouse manager at All Tech Fasteners. As a teenager, TFC Burgess and his family would vacation to South Carolina, and this all happened at an early age. He grew tired of working up in the warehouse in New York and decided to pursue a dream in law enforcement, applying to the South Carolina Highway Patrol in June of 2017. TFC Burgess became one of South Carolina's finest in 2018 when he joined the ranks of the South Carolina Highway Patrol and was stationed to Calhoun, Orangeburg in Troop 7. He is a certified field training officer, standardized field sobriety test instructor, and stop stick instructor. TFC Burgess also maintains a certification as a specific skills instructor with the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. TFC Burgess is a valuable asset to Troop 7 and is very dependable, responsible, and a flexible team player. He fully supports the mission of the South Carolina Highway Patrol and the goal of Target Zero. TFC Burgess utilizes his training and knowledge to assist motorists enforce the traffic laws and the criminal laws of our state. On September 23, 2022, while assigned to assist SLED in Allendale County with a crime suppression initiative, TFC Burgess and other law enforcement officers were dispatched to Dale Apartments in the city of Allendale in reference to a shooting. Once on scene, TFC Burgess located the shooting victim who would have been shot in the leg. TFC Burgess, training and quick thinking, took over and he applied a tourniquet to the victim's leg, stopping the bleeding before EMS arrived and took over. The heroic action taken by TFC Burgess no doubt stopped the bleeding and saved the person's life. As the events of this stressful incident unfolded, TFC Burgess remained calm and was professional and was able to utilize his training to successfully have a successful outcome to this incident. Please join me in congratulating Trooper First Class Burgess.
Accompanied by his Troop 7 Commander Quincy Brown. Thank you all very much.
Troop 8 Post B nomination is going to be Master Trooper K.M. Small, the legend, K.M. Small. Troop 8 nomination for Post B nominee is 2022 Trooper of the Year Master Trooper K.M. Small. At an early age, Master Trooper Small developed the passion for serving and a devotion to duty. After graduating high school, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. In 1978, Master Trooper Small said goodbye to his hometown in rural PD area, South Carolina, and then later arrived at the United States Marine Corps Recruit Depot in Parris Island, South Carolina. He successfully graduated recruit training and then began his military career. Among his many stops during his enlistment were assignments to the Marine Corps Air Station in Hawaii and North Carolina. Master Trooper Small completed a 6-year enlistment of service and attended the rank of sergeant upon his separation in 1984. It was in the same year that Master Trooper Small began his career as a South Carolina State Trooper. Master Trooper Small is currently a member of the Troop 8 Insurance Enforcement Unit and has had several honors during his assignment during these times. In 2022, Master Trooper Small was selected to assist in training new trooper that was assigned to Troop 5. The trooper is now a successful member of the unit and is in no small part due to the efforts of Master Trooper Small. Master Trooper Small can also be counted on to step up when all officers were stepping down. His leadership and prior years as a supervisor with the patrol are invaluable. He also knows the importance of planning and using his accrued annual leave. Typically, when troopers take their earned annual leave, more times than not, it is spent on vacations or family outings. Every October, he takes his annual leave in conjunction with the South Carolina State Fair, allowing him to earn valuable, what he called, Christmas money. While at the State Fair, he is treated no different than any young trooper. His assignments are no different than any others at traffic control points. In his nomination letter, his supervisor mentioned how he witnessed firsthand Master Trooper Small took a new trooper under his wing and mentored him while he was at the fair. Master Trooper Small also assists with his neighbor by driving him to various medical appointments. He is well respected and rounded in the PD area, and the troopers assigned to Troop 5 seek out guidance from him at all times. He can also be counted on to represent the patrol in a positive light and lend a helping hand to anybody that's needed. Master Trooper Small has been a trooper for nearly 40 years and is still energetic and devoted as he ever was since 1984. Please join me congratulating Trooper Small. Barely looks 40 years old, don't he? Moving on to Troop 9, our mate unit, their nomination comes out of Post D, which is Corporal W.M. Lee. On September 3rd, 2022, PD mate was notified of a hit and run with great bodily injury on Sand Ridge Road in Horry County involving an unknown vehicle and a bicyclist. Corporal Lee's call-out team responded immediately to the scene of the collision. They located parts from the unknown vehicle, including the passenger side mirror, along with a wheel cover. After speaking with the scene supervisor about the area being common to locals, Corporal Lee began to ride around the area in hopes of locating the unknown vehicle. After riding down several roads in the immediate area, Corporal Lee stopped at an RV park security guard gate shack and inquired about continuing his search inside their park. Upon gaining access to the park, Corporal Lee located the vehicle of interest parked at a camper. Corporal Lee noted that the vehicle had damage consistent with the parts that were collected from the crime scene. He also noticed a blue paint transfer on the vehicle consistent with the blue frame bicycle. Corporal Lee made contact with the people inside the camper and later obtained a confession from the driver who struck the bicyclist. Corporal Lee also located the video from the guard shack showing the driver passing through the gate earlier in the night with the damage on his vehicle. On several other occasions throughout the year, Corporal Lee has taken small headlight fragments from hit-and-run scenes and put them back together to piece together an investigation, slowly reconstructing portions of the headlights from the pieces found at the scene. Corporal Lee then took the reconstructed headlight pieces to local salvage yards and walked around comparing these to different makes and models of vehicles until he located a similar headlight. By doing this tedious work, Corporal Lee has been able to identify the year, make, and model of several at-fault vehicles. This work has helped solve several hit-and-run cases and has allowed the Highway Patrol to bring closure to victims' families. Corporal Lee is a great asset not only to Troop 9, but to the Highway Patrol as a whole. Please join me in congratulating Corporal Lee. Troop 10 Community Relations Recruiting and Employment Unit nominee is Lance Corporal L.M. Butler. The Community Relations and Recruiting Unit nominee, Lance Corporal L.M. Butler for Troop 10 Trooper of the Year. Lance Corporal Butler joined the South Carolina Highway Patrol in 2016. In 2022, she served as a statewide recruiter for the Highway Patrol, attending numerous recruiting events to attract qualified applicants to apply for a position with the agency. One initiative she spearheaded was visiting National Guard armories around the state during their drill weekends. This initiative gave Lance Corporal Butler a chance to speak to military servicemen and women about a career with the South Carolina Highway Patrol. Lance Corporal Butler also attended colleges, universities, community events, and workforce job fairs throughout the state. She regularly attends PAT testing for new applicants and answers questions for potential applicants throughout emails and phone calls. Lance Corporal Butler's greatly impacted the agency by receiving 1,040 applications in 2022. Outside of her recruiting responsibilities, Lance Corporal Butler is a servant at heart. She enjoys participating in community projects and happily volunteers for the Rock Solid Foundation program, which helps build playground equipment for children fighting serious health issues like cancer. In November of 2022, Lance Corporal Butler transitioned to the Troop 5 Community Relations Officer CRO position. The new position allows her to continue the use of her skills as a recruiter and represent the South Carolina Highway Patrol during safety talks and media events. Lance Corporal Butler is always looks professional and acts professional in everything that she does. She is a true ambassador for the agency. Please join me in congratulating Lance Corporal Butler.
Great job. Appreciate everything. Let's give all the recipients again a big round of applause. Again, just like the TCO operators, you heard the stories with all 10 of these troopers. They all done an outstanding job, and any one of them could be selected as the Trooper of the Year for the state for 2022. Unfortunately, we can only select one, and that one that we have selected as the 2022 Trooper of the Year is none other than the Troop 2 recipient, Piszczatoski, if I'm saying it right. Please come forward, 2022 Trooper of the Year. Shortly, we will show you a short clip video of some of the things that he did in this thing when Lieutenant Colonel Manley was reading it. It really, the reading of it don't do any justice, but when you see this clipping, I'm telling you, this person was, they probably was what we know as 10-7. I'm telling you, this person was out of it. They were actually, lifeless, and you could see him working and bring that person back to life. At the same time, when the gentleman that was driving was jumping up and down and heckling him and about this person being dead, and he says, "Hey, I gotta breathe, and I gotta breathe. I can feel some pulse." She's back to breathing again. So with him saying that and you hearing that and seeing it, man, it was great work by a trooper on the South Carolina Highway Patrol when you see the job that he did on the side of the road that day. Like I say, everybody here can be commended for a job well done, and we could have selected anybody. But, sometimes, as again, another thing I learned from Colonel Oliver, that's just an unfortunate position you're put in as a lot of times with being the colonel. You got to make the tough decision, but that's why you're in it. But all of our people are great. I tell everybody, and I hope Trooper Darius Brown don't take this to heart, the way we are as far as the Marines. How many of us have seen the Marines commercial that says we are looking for a few good men? We want all our men and women to be good, the Highway Patrol. That's the difference between us and the Marines. Captain Moore, y'all come in. I'm gonna call you Trooper P. But we want to congratulate you on the job well done, the entire Highway Patrol command staff, all the employees of the Highway Patrol, the DPS, everybody here, man. We commend you on the great job that you've done in representing the Highway Patrol, professionalism, the selfless service, integrity, and responsibility. And for that, you'll be selected as our Trooper of the Year for 2022. Congratulations. Thanks. Captain Pena. For that, you also receive a $500 bonus in your next paycheck if the HR director says it. Also, I'm gonna give you these keys, man, to that that pretty charge out there, green with the black stripes, or you get to cut some wheelies now. Just remember, when you cut wheelies, there should be another car in front of you on the side of the road. But if you don't, as you cut those wheelies, somebody will be complaining the other side. So you got this car, you got the $500 bonus, you got your trophy, you got your pin. We're gonna let the captain put it on you, and we just go from there, man. Congratulations to you. Jones, they go above the name tag? Yes, sir. Yeah, right above there.
Unfortunately, Captain won't know how to pin that up.
If you want to pick some, pick two. Let's hold that there. We'll get one more pick. Lieutenant Colonels, y'all come in for me. One more on that side. And Major, y'all come jump in. What do you think, Dan? Thank y'all guys. Piszczatoski, would you stay up? Yeah, we'll now have a special presentation by our Executive Director of the Troopers Association, retired Major Mark Gosnell, and Mr. Douglas Kahn of Cormac Arms. If y'all would, please come forward.
And Adam, on behalf of the South Carolina Trooper Association and our corporate sponsor, Cormac Arms, I'd like to present you this engraved AR-15 patrol pistol. Congratulations.
Let's take a moment now. I want to play the video of just a short clipping of Piszczatoski and his performance here on the side of the road with this young lady that got him nominated in the Trooper of the Year award. So play the video. Watch this lady as he drag out. There's no life in her. So we cut it to this. This is him performing chest compulsion and CPR on.
Sir, I got her. Take some breath. Take a deep breath, okay? Light your cigarette. Take a deep breath. All right? There's no your friends. EMS is on the way, all right? Allison, she's breathing. She's breathing. Sir, I got her breathing. It's okay. No, I understand. I understand. It's all right, dude. It's all right, man. No, we're going to figure this thing out. She's going to be okay.
Thanks to everyone for coming out today. We truly appreciate it. As we say, this is the time of year that we enjoy recognizing our employees for a job well done. Today, as every year, has been a successful day. We ask that all of our employees who was recognized today continue to go out and do a job well done in serving the citizens of our state and accomplish the mission of the South Carolina Highway Patrol in assisting in reducing collisions and fatalities. That is our number one mission, and conducting enforcement to keep our citizens safe as they travel and drive on the roadways of South Carolina, and we can help make South Carolina a better place to live as well. So as we go forward, I hope everybody has learned something from this ceremony today, and it gives you the enthusiasm and the dedication and commitment to continue to drive forward. So with that being said, I ask now that you stand for the retiring of the colors after we receive the benediction from Sergeant M.L. Barnett. Please come forward.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day that you've given us. We thank you for the opportunity we've had to celebrate each one of these troopers and TCOs and the job that they've done. Lord, we ask you to help us to take this from this day forward. Help us to each and every one of us remember that every opportunity we have is an opportunity to help those that we service in this state and who are traveling through this state. Lord, guide us and strengthen us in each moment of our life. Help us to go forward and to do good work for you and for each other. We ask all these things and we praise you in your holy name. Amen.
Before the honor guard come forward, did I mention today, if y'all hadn't, it's Lieutenant Colonel Albert's birthday, 32. So let's give him a round of applause. Honor guard.
Right shoulder. And a half step forward. Request permission to retire the colors.
Retire the colors.
Ready? I have step forward.
All the recipients, don't forget about the announcement that Lieutenant Colonel Abbott made with Public Affairs in taking pictures on the front stage here, so please be present. Thanks to everyone for attending. Be blessed and be safe. Thank you.